Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Hollywood 250 for the 2022 Velocity Racing League Cup Series. We are here today at Auto Club Speedway. My name is Mason Heimbaugh, joined alongside me, Gareth McAllister, with Team Goon Squad bringing you the action here tonight. 1080p, 60 frames a second, as drivers get themselves out onto the field and starting their qualifying laps here for today's event. Gareth, welcome to another race here today, and I mean, man, what a night to be here at Auto Club. It's going to be quite the race, a little bit more multi-groove action than what we're typically used to seeing, and particularly what we saw last week at Nashville, where everyone was kind of taking one lane around the track. Here tonight, everyone's going to have multiple lanes to choose from, and that might have some potential for fighting around the field. Gareth, welcome again, and what are you thinking for tonight?
Well, hello Mason and everyone else watching at home. What I'm thinking is, I'm thinking we're going to have quite the, well, I mean, you've already alluded to it. The multi-track racing is going to be probably the biggest factor that we'll see as a difference in at Auto Club than any other track we've been to before. We've seen a lot of cars in practice, you know, choosing the high line, the low line, the middle, sort of diamonding the corner, doing a mix of everything. You know, there's a few little bumps and intricate parts to this track that are a bit sort of weird and, you know, a little bit tough to get used to certain parts, but it should be a good race all around.
I believe it will be a good race indeed. And for all the folks tuning in and joining us at home, thank you all for tuning in and joining us here for another race here with Velocity Racing League. We've got our usual fan crew here tonight. Don Hillbrands, we got William Britton, who's also driving here in the series as well as Jennifer Nan. I hope I'm saying that last name correctly, but welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us here once again, as we're currently taking a look here at the championship leader, Howie Briss, the number 97 machine, make his way around the track, currently sitting second place in qualifying at this moment with a 40.59, just 1/100th of a second behind Patrick Colby in that number 9 machine for the provisional pole spot here, as that's going to be the end of Howie Briss's run here tonight. Seeing what other drivers out here on track have in store before we see the checkered flag wave here tonight for their qualifying run, before we go into the 250 miles, 125 laps that we will see here tonight for the Hollywood 250. As we see Jaden Hopp in the 81 DeWalt machine, he makes his way up into the 6th place spot here, just outside the top 5. Jaden Hopp having had a pretty good week last week, finishing 4th place in last week's race at Nashville Fairgrounds. Seeing what he can do this week and hopefully be able to push his way up into a podium here tonight. Daniel Mosteller, Howie Briss, Nicholas Lovell, all three of them coming home from the podium last week, all going to look for similar success here this week as well. And Daniel Mosteller, you know, a driver who unexpectedly found himself at the top of the field, coming home with the win for that race. Pretty excited, pretty happy, and hoping for some similar success here tonight. Daniel Mosteller, the 87 machine, coming home with that win once again for last week's race at Nashville. But coming here into tonight's race, we've got two drivers that have kind of had not necessarily, they've taken a step away from the series and haven't attended as many races as they would have liked to, but Ashley Lyle and Caitlin Height both out here tonight. The 51 machine currently taking laps for their qualifying run here tonight, as she puts herself up into the top 5 with a 40.66, up into 4th place. Very good run here for the 51 machine, and let's see if she's going to get another good lap in here this second time around. But right now, besides Ashley Lyle, there's James Miller out on track here. Gareth, I mean, we're shaping up for a real good run here.
Yeah, it should be a good one. We've got we don't have a massive field of drivers at the moment, but we've got a good solid build for some interesting stuff. And it looked like Ashley just barely was not able to get her final lap keyed in just before the the session was coming to a close. So unfortunate for her, but we will head up into the warm-up just before we head out. And I would like to say though, Mason, I kind of promised Howie Briss I would do this last week if
Oh,
she hadn't
no.
watched it. So Aunt Stephanie,
Oh, I
Briss's
remember this now.
Briss's gap to second is now 3:01. I promised I would do it, and I keep my promises. So there it is.
You know, for a second, Gareth, I thought it was going to be something bad, but then I remembered you had that conversation last week, and it's all coming back to me now.
Something bad. What do you take me for, Mason? Come on, man.
You know, I don't know. I don't know, Gareth. I should have more trust in you. But anyway, folks, let's go ahead and get into our starting grid here. Run through our field and see where drivers are going to start themselves off here tonight. Patrick Colby and Howie Briss going to be up in the front row with Nicholas Lovell and Ashley Lyle in our second row. Connor Gibson and Scott Shire. In our third row, Jaden Hopp and Logan Jones. In our fourth row, Tony Hillbrands and Sean Williams in our fifth row. Charles Jurick and William Britton in our sixth row. Gareth?
Matthew Fitz is going to be on 13th, and 14th is going to be James Coulibaly. Daniel Mostella and Nicholas Corsell is going to be in row number 7, I believe that is. I've lost where I am now. Oh my god, I'm just, yep. That was Mostella, wasn't it? Yeah, there we go. Corsell, Nicholas Corsell. No. Oh man, I'm so bad. Anyway, what am I doing? Okay. Daniel Mosteller is in 15th. Nicholas Corsell is in 16th. Kalen Height is in 17th. James Miller in 18th, and Howie Dtray in 19th. I apologize massively for that. I just completely lost it. You know, it really throws me for a loop when, like, you say the rows. I know, like, that's a NASCAR thing and you're supposed to do that, but because it doesn't list it, like, where they are and what rows, I just lose it, and I do that way too much.
You know, Gareth, I'm not making it easy on you, but hey, that's how you learn, right?
No, what you're going to say is get better.
I was trying to be more nice about it.
Oh man.
Well, Gareth, you did a phenomenal job working through that. I gotta put you on the spot there, and you did a good job working through that.
I'm pretty sure I got everyone. I'm pretty certain of that.
I think we at least got everyone, and that's what counts at the end of the day.
I hope I didn't miss Coulibaly. That's the only one I'm like not sure of, but I've said his name now, so now he's gonna like me.
Well, folks, as we come across the line, the lights are going to go off on the pace car and get ourselves ready to go here for the first opening laps here at Auto Club Speedway in California. Folks, I hope you all are excited and ready here for tonight's race as we tick our way down further into the final few races left in this season. Just a few races left after this one. And folks, I got to tell you, tonight is going to be some exciting oval racing, and next week and the week after, we head to some exciting road course action with Long Beach and then Laguna Seca right after that. I am thrilled, Gareth. I know that you are thrilled. It's going to be some great racing for the next 3 weeks here tonight, and it's all going to start here at Auto Club. And I got to say, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see what these drivers are going to do here with, again, the multi-groove action that we potentially will see from these drivers right out of the gate. Whether or not we're going to see some early contact is yet to be seen as, again, we have drivers that are still competing for the championship. And Gareth and I were discussing it a little bit before the broadcast. We still have points battles for the second place position as well as, what was it, the sixth place position, right?
No.
Put you on the spot there, Gareth.
No. Yep, we're going green. That's what I'm going to do. Patrick Colby and Howie Briss. We didn't actually talk a lot enough, I think, about how Patrick Colby was able to make his way to the front, because that's a fantastic qualifying session for him. Usually we see him a little bit further down the pack.
Oh,
Great
no.
to see, and I almost given the commentator's curse. Oh man, everything's going wrong for me today. Nicholas Lovell takes over the lead. Howie Briss falls in behind, and they are 2 wide, multiple rows deep, and 4 wide for a second there as well.
Battle for the lead here as well between Howie Briss, Nicholas Lovell, the 37 machine down underneath. 97 of Howie Briss here. He falls just a little bit behind the tail end of Howie Briss here, as we are multi-groove racing here just a little bit further behind them in the middle of the pack here. Drivers all scrambling for positions as we are locked on here with the 81 of Jaden Hobb in the DeWalt machine, as he has Connor Gibson, the 31 DuPont machine. Or is that DuPont? DuPont. I keep saying DuPont. Every time I see that name, I keep wanting to say DuPont. It's DuPont. Anyway, point being here, side-by-side racing down the back straightaway as we come back into turn number 3. A little bit spread out here in the front rows. We're seeing drivers already kind of get a little spread out here towards the front of the field, but meanwhile, in the mid-pack, I mean, seeing a little bit of distance here and there, but drivers are just taking advantage of the huge track that we have here at Auto Club.
Yeah, Colby and Koulibaly are just switching off like constantly between each other, making positions. And speaking of Patrick Koulibaly, though, he just set the fastest lap of the race. I know we're only the 3rd lap in, but he's down in 12th after that near spin. Great save, by the way. I should have said that earlier, but just passing Charles Jurick there for 11th place, and obviously proving why he started on pole to begin with. I mean, he's really been clicking off laps incredibly quickly, setting down a 41.27, and the closest competitor is in the lead at the moment, Howie Briss, with a 41.3, so not a whole lot faster, but definitely faster.
Yeah, you know, and it's that little bit of time that's going to help you over the long run here. And I mean, what's really going to help Patrick Colby here as well is getting into that little bit of draft that we get on this extremely long straight on the back straightaway, that these drivers can kind of get into a line and really build up some momentum going into turns 3 and 4. And this is a good example of how that can kind of play out here. Drivers starting to get collected towards the front of the field here. That's a little bit too far ahead, but as we're tagged along here with Sean Williams. You see that bright pink 89 machine up at the top lane here with Patrick Colby starting to close in on the rear end. But as he does so, Sean Williams going down to the middle lane here as we come out of turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. Colby staying up high. And that just shows you, folks, that's the different kind of lane choices that you have here on a track like Auto Club, similar to what you would see at Michigan International, where drivers are just practically all over the place. You can have that multi-groove racing that, frankly, I love to see. I'm all for it. I think that it makes some really, really good action, and it makes the racing just a lot more interesting for these drivers. Now, meanwhile, we've got some battles happening throughout the field here. Tony Hillbrand's, Connor Gibson, they're duking it out for that 4th place spot here just outside the top 3 as Howie Briss, Nicholas Lovell, and Scott Shire, they just try and line up here and build up some distance between themselves and the rest of the field. But look at this 2x2 with Tony Hillbrand's and Connor Gibson kind of switching places here for just, if we remember just a few seconds ago, Gibson was on the outside, and here we go back in those spots that they were in. Oh, contact as we come out of turn number 4 across the line. We are staying steady, staying green here, but very close contact there between Connor Gibson and Tony Hillbrand's. Gareth, that could have been tragic.
It would have been crazy, but yeah, I think Hillbrand's just got a little bit unnerved by James Miller coming up in his on his left side, and just wasn't quite ready for Gibson to still be there on the outside. But yeah, thankfully neither driver got really too much involved in that one. Didn't look like anything really bing bad happened or anything's really damaged the cars at all. So they're going to keep it going, and definitely aero is going to play a huge role just on that point, that if you do get a damaged front end or a damaged quarter panel, it could really slow you down a lot, being that it's a big 2-mile track, and there's a lot of speed. You know, they're traveling close to 200 miles an hour as they let off the throttle going into these corners. So aero is going to play a huge factor. Strategy could play a big factor. We've got 35 to 45 laps of fuel window. Tires will probably last that distance, I imagine, on a big speedway like this. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. I mean, we've already seen 2, 3, 4 wide at points around the track, and there's almost another 3 wide there, as I'm pretty sure they were for a little bit. As you've got William Britton in the 64 machine with Daniel Mostella and James Koulibaly all fighting for that one, but it looks like William Britton is going to drop back a little bit. Not sure if he got loose or what happened there.
Yeah, Williams starting to feel a little bit of a slide there in the previous turn. I believe that was turn 2. Got it corrected and managed to keep that car from turning out from behind him. But yeah, that was a close call there from William Britton, and able to recover that rather quickly there. But yeah, Gareth, I mean, we're seeing some pretty heated battles throughout the field. I mean, drivers again just kind of scattered wherever you want to look, really. No matter where you look at this on this track, everything seems to be a battle happening at this moment. So looking at the race as it currently stands, and kind of taking a look at what we might expect, thinking a little bit in the future, kind of planning ahead here for possibly pit stops in, let's see here, I had to go back and take a look at our race notes here once again, but 35 to 45 laps is our expected fuel window for tonight's race. So we're already getting close to we're actually just about a quarter of the way through that expected fuel window. So I would expect to see some drivers maybe kind of have a little bit more of a conservative approach this early in the race, maybe not be nearly as aggressive on these turns, maybe try and stay a little bit higher, or a little bit lower, excuse me, than they normally would. Not necessarily, or well, not entirely too sure, as personally I haven't turned too many laps here at Auto Club, but I would imagine that there is a little bit of strategy that could be played out here in pit road as well. So I'm not 100% sure, Gary. I know that you mentioned that you had ran some laps here earlier and have gotten a little bit of insight at what we could potentially see here tonight.
Yeah, I didn't do an extensive amount. I just did, you know, I got Nicholas Lovell to show me around the track just earlier, just before the race began, and we had a grand old time. So yeah, it was I just got really shown around, and you know, there's a few bumps that really can really shake things up. But as you can see, Lovell himself making his way, trying to get around Howie Briss. Now that's a fight we've been wanting to see and have seen. We've been witnessing almost every track these two go at it quite a lot. But great friends, great guys, and yeah, I'm sure. but anyway, I was really wanting to bring up that we were talking at the top of the show that, you know, there's probably going to be a lot of green flag runs, because this track, with how wide it is and how big it is and how on throttle you are, you're unlikely to see a car like maybe just tag the wall a little bit, or get into another, or really have a caution and have an issue. So it's, as you were talking about earlier with the pit stop strategy, it should be an interesting one coming into the later portions of this race.
Yeah, I think long run strategies are going to definitely play a factor in tonight's race. Short run speed may not be what you want to see here on a track like this, given how big it is. I mean, maybe you can make it work, but I think in the end, you want to have a car that's going to be able to handle 35, 45 laps on a 2-mile track and not really see any sort of major kind of pace difference early on in your run. So, I mean, if you're scrubbing off your tires 10, 15 laps into the run and you're seeing your lap times down by 2-3 seconds, there's a problem. It's unfortunate, but sometimes that's the situation that drivers are put in here tonight. Well, not here tonight, but in certain races. So, but here tonight, everyone showing what they have here and what they've brought to race here tonight for the Hollywood 250. And so far, we're seeing a lot of great action happening. And I got to mention here as well, Gareth, the 09 of James Miller. He is currently the hard charger of the race, currently up 14 spots into 4th place. So incredible here for the 09 machine, now just peaking outside of the top 3 and kind of just really keeping to his own, not really getting in anyone's way here, as we see Tony Hilbrands make a little bit of a challenge here coming out of turn 4. They get side by side, almost contact between the two. They keep it clean between one another. Meanwhile, behind them, you see the 9 of Patrick Colby, who's also been fighting to get his way back up into the mix of things after seeing himself fall down the field at the start of tonight's race. Lap 17 of 125. We're still early in the action here tonight as we are almost 3 wide coming down the back straightaway, heading into turn number 3. It's Jaden Hobb down on the inside, Tony Hilbrands right smack dab in the middle, and Patrick Colby here as he disappears for just a moment, with Charles Jurick just behind him as well. And for a moment here, I want to ride on board with, let's see here, let's ride on board with Logan Jones here in the number 3 machine and just get a lap on board with one of the drivers and see what it's like for a lap here at Auto Club.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible watching the drivers choose all the different lanes and going around a lot. Not sure if you wanted to make this a non-talking segment or not, Mason.
No, you're fine.
This is the cast, but all right, we're good. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna try and keep this professional, but yeah, Patrick Colby, right? I'm thoroughly impressed with the way Colby's been able to make his way back up through the field, but I almost wonder of how much he's used up of that rubber on his car, because I haven't really seen him go too loose since that early spin, but certainly something to keep an eye on, as he's had to have used up more of his tires than anyone else to make his way back up through the field as quick as he has. And James Miller, you know, like you were alluding to earlier, fantastic job for him, up 14 spots, still up 14 spots, sitting in the 4th position. And that car got bent out of shape all kinds at Nashville Fairgrounds, so great job from the pit crew to bring it back to life for this race here at Auto Club today.
Yeah, absolutely. That must have been quite the night for the pit crew after that race to get that car at least in a good enough condition to put it back in the trailer to have it transported to Auto Club here for tonight's event. But excuse me, as we're continuing along here, drivers making their way down the back straightaway, pretty much single file. I gotta give a mention here to Howie Briss and Nicholas Lovell. They're both just driving it away from this field, nearly 2 seconds separating themselves and the rest of the pack, and I gotta say, that's just incredible. And Lovell, I mean, he is just right on the tail of Howie Briss here. He hasn't moved hardly an inch, it seems like, and it's for a track like Auto Club, you'd almost think it would be a little easier to kind of lose your opponents, but for Howie Briss, the 37 machine is just a bee that he cannot get rid of here at this moment. But lap 21, excuse me, of 125, as I appear to have a bug in my throat of some kind. It's that time of season here in the Midwest. I love it. Great time of year. Anyway, anyhow, we've got people in the chat here joining us as we are going side-by-side action here with Tony Hillbrands and Sean Williams. Got to give a shout-out here to KPTV 75 Pointers Motor Supplies. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Hope you're enjoying the action here tonight and getting ready for a good race here for the Hollywood 250 for the 2022 VRL Cup Series, with Howie Briss and Nicholas Lovell duking it out for the lead. And it looks like, Gareth, we might have an exchange for that lead here with Lovell down way deep on the inside here as we work our way through 1 and 2.
Yeah, Howie Briss is still going to keep the lead for that lap, but the question is for how long, as he's going to be a little bit high on the mid-line. Both really using the mid-line. Lovell losing the back end, stepping out a little bit, holds on to it. Very surprised by that. Howie Briss sticking right to the wall. They're going to stay side by side as they go round again into 3 and 4. This is pretty incredible. We haven't seen like much of a challenge for Howie Briss since Patrick Colby had that little bit of a spin, but Nicholas Lovell showing that he has the pace and he wants it bad, as it looks like he might have to fall back in tow with Howie Briss. Is just, you know, we've seen this all series long. Howie Briss, the reason why he's able to just be winning the championship at the moment is just because he's so steady and stable. His movement's very, very smooth and just able to get the most out of his car. Will not necessarily be the fastest out there sometimes, but just consistency is really key to winning this championship. Speaking of speed, going back to Patrick Colby, he's, I don't want to say he's fallen off the pace slightly. It might just be traffic, but he definitely seems like, oh, just in front of him, Scott Shire also having some problems. Might have tagged the wall there a little bit. Colby using every bit of the raceway, going all the way down to the apron and all the way back up to make that pass on Scott Shire for 7th position. So, yeah, as I was saying earlier, Patrick Colby really almost looking like he's sort of just, unfortunately, his tyres just aren't where they need to be at the moment to get him back up into contention. But that being said, you know, this is a multi-groove track. You can see side by side all around the track, as we just saw Hop and Miller fighting for 3rd as well. And there's another battle right there between Williams and Scott Shire for 8th position. And, you know, you can see fights happening all over this track, but it's still very difficult to pass because every lane is usable and usable well. So it's just going to be really a battle of attrition more than anything else. I think just not getting too hot-headed, just feeling it out and letting the track and the car come to you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that combined with just being patient and playing your cards right, playing them, you know, at the right time, and not just trying to be too daring and too risky. It's one of those situations where, you know, like you said, it's just you let the race come to you. You don't want to try and make a dive bomb attempt on someone for, you know, a lone position or anything like that. Especially at this stage in the race, I could understand it, you know, if it's 10 laps left to go and you've been following a guy for the last 30 laps and all you want to do is just get past the guy. I completely understand. But at this early point in the race, it's all about, like you said, just all about attrition. It's all gonna come down to driver wit. It's all gonna come down to who can keep themselves out here the longest and who can keep themselves really in the mix of things throughout tonight's race. It's going to be challenging for every single driver. Given that this series, all of these drivers run the same exact setup, so no one really has any ability to modify anything to the car. All of the setups are provided by Tony Hillbrands, the owner and administrator of the league. So he does provide the setups for these cars. So these cars are, you know, oh man,
Oh, gets in the wall a bit there.
Big slide there from Hilbrands into the wall, but keeping it together though. As I'm talking about the guy who's setting up the cars every week, he's having a little bit of a moment here, but Tony Hilbrands as well doing as well as he possibly can in tonight's race, given the circumstances and the challenges that are being faced. That looked a lot more dangerous from that angle. But anyway, Gareth, let's talk a little bit here about some of the other battles that we are seeing out here, not necessarily out on the track, but on the championship. Nicholas Lovell currently holding on to that second place spot, but just a little bit further behind him, we've got Jaden Hopp as well as Tony Hilbrands in third and fourth place. Very, very tight battle here for the second place spot in the championship. And then we go a little bit further beyond that. We have Benny Hogan in sixth place, who very close behind him have James Miller, Scott Shire, as well as James Koulibaly. That could have the potential to move their way just a little bit further up the championship here as well. And for Nicholas Lovell, it's looking like he's going to be able to keep himself up here in that second place spot if he continues doing what he's doing here tonight and just staying right hot on the tail of the leader of the race here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. It's what he really wants, I'm sure, is for Howie Briss to fall back in the standings a little bit, because not only will that clinch him second place at the moment, but also just eat into Howie Briss's current lead in the championship series just a little bit more, as we look back a little bit to the 18. That's Caitlin Height. Now she's up 7 spots in the 10th position, and great run for her in the long run. So she seems to definitely know how to save that rubber underneath her, as she's just clicking off laps.
Yeah, just taking a look at some of the other drivers here throughout the field and seeing where they all are and how the field is kind of looking at this point in the race, as we're getting close to that expected pit window. And speaking of, here we have the 34 Howie D-Tray, the other Phenom paint shop machine out here on track, along with Tony Hilbrand's 92 machine, making his way down through pit road a little bit earlier than expected for, the rest of the field. So I would expect here that Howie's just probably feeling maybe a little undercutty today. Doesn't necessarily find himself in the situation to be battling for any positions out in the front. So it's just going to take it in a little early here at this point in the race. But man, look at this. William Britton here trying to keep himself from going another lap down here, as he's fighting some lap traffic here, and currently the only driver a lap down at this point in time.
Well, yeah, so William Britton, just an interesting thing as well. He actually came down to pit road at lap 19 and took 4 fresh Goodyears. So that explained his pace working his way up through the field. If you saw that 64 machine making his way through, that's what that was. I think just to get himself off of strategy and just to see what the difference is between new and old tires, and you could see it for sure. Like we saw him working his way up through the field, but they seem to have plateaued a little bit now, so not sure that one worked out for him just as well as he wanted, but he could take the lead, and you never know, a caution could be thrown while the other drivers are behind him as they try and come down to pit road at their scheduled stop, and he can continue going.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Auto Club is one of those tracks here as well where pit entry is kind of in a interesting spot. Now you can definitely come in through 3 and 4 a little earlier without having to go through I guess the big entry out of turn 4, as I will eloquently call it. But point being here, we could potentially see some interesting action coming into pit road. Here is a potentially good shot. There it is right there. of that entry into pit road. Kind of a little bit of a weird angle there. But, yeah, I don't know, Gareth. I mean, depending on how fast some drivers are coming out of turn 4, we could potentially see some interesting lockups, some drivers sliding across the grass, just trying to get these cars slowed down enough to make it across the commitment line without getting a speeding penalty. So, I don't know. As we see Tony Hilbrand's the 92 machine, he's going to come down through pit road here as well, along with his teammate, which has... He's gone back out on pit road here. For a second, it seemed like he had called it a night for some reason, but no, he is still out on track. So Tony Hilbrand's going to make his way in and out of pit road and get himself back out on track. And frankly, Gareth, I think Tony is probably going to be the next driver to look out for, to be battling up there alongside with Howie Briss and Nicholas Lovell here in the next few laps.
Are you thinking that's because of the undercut?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting strategy call. I for one am not the biggest fan of the undercut. I find it never really works out for me. But you know, if Tony, I almost wonder if Tony came in because he wasn't quite sure about the handling of his car as well, so he decided to wait for the fuel window to open and then to make his way down just on the early stages of that fuel window, because we did see him get into the wall, and we have seen him lose a little bit. So as we see the 31 coming down as well, that's Connor Gibson.
Connor Gibson making his way down through pit road. Slowly but surely, drivers trickling their way through pit lane, getting themselves a fresh set of good years and ready for their next stints here for tonight's race of the Hollywood 250 for the 2022 VRL Cup Series. 38 laps so far of green flag racing, and it has been good action here tonight. I would say very clean, very fast racing here tonight. You know, and it's, even though we're not at a speedway or a super speedway, let me clarify there. You know, we're not exactly at Talladega or Daytona, but it definitely looks and kind of feels like a super speedway. Even though drivers are letting off going into these turns, it definitely has a kind of super speedway feel to it, and just makes the racing just so much more exciting to watch. So, folks, I hope you all are enjoying, and if you are, hit that like button. Let us know that me and Gareth up here are doing a good job and not just being a couple of goofballs. But as we continue on with our action here tonight, lap 40 of 125. Gareth, I mean, as we're slowly seeing drivers make their way through pit road, and oops, I didn't mean to do that, as James Coulibaly makes his way down through, I mean, 40 laps of green flag racing, and we've seen a couple drivers get a little loose here and there. We haven't seen anyone exactly call it a race here tonight, so I mean, what are we thinking here?
Oh no, that's a little bit of a messed up pit entry.
Big time oof.
Yeah, he's gonna have to readjust. He's too close to the pit wall for the guys to go to work on that one. There we go. Car's lifted up and he's all good now. But yeah, so but anyway, I'm sorry, Mason. I kind of interrupted you and lost a little bit of what you were asking.
I was asking you, now that we've seen some drivers kind of slowly trickle their way through pit road, and now that we've seen this long green flag run here, and no one really, I mean, we've seen a couple drivers kind of have a couple little hiccups here and there, but so far it's just been smooth racing for everyone here, as we see Jaden Hopp come down through pit road here. A little bit of a wobble from the tail end. I mean, do you think we're going to see anyone make that unfortunate mistake and find themselves behind the wall before the race is over tonight? So far, no one has, but anything can happen.
Yeah, no. Look, we've seen a few cars have a little bit of issues getting loose in that, but nothing really major as the run has actually worn on. It was more under fresh tires and then a little bit during the run as they start to wear out. But I'm not so sure we'll see any real big issues, as this is the first time we're going to have multiple cars coming down pit road at the same time. We're going to have Howie, Briss, and Lovell both coming in, followed by Miller and Jones as well. So a decent number of drivers, and it's got to be said right now, Caitlin Hyde taking over the top spot. That's, I mean, clearly she's doing something different to everyone else, because she was way at the back and somehow has just, through sheer like saving of the tires, I reckon, she's just kept it going and able to make her way to the front. Really, it's not even, I mean, there's a little bit of pit strategy that's helped out with that, but as you can see just behind, I believe that's Jaden Hopp. Yes, it is. Just one lap down, trying everything he can with those new tires to get back on the lead lap before a potential caution comes out. But I think it's really interesting to see Caitlin Height. She's really got something figured out to make that car last on the long run, that's for sure.
Yeah, between Caitlin Height here and Ashley Lyle, both of them good friends. They're both just phenomenal drivers and have really put on great performances every race that they attend. And it's here they are again doing the same exact thing. Both of them in the top 10. Caitlin Height currently leading the race here. So both of the ladies of the VRL Cup Series showing their dominance here tonight in style. And Caitlin Height representing the Red Bull Racing 18 machine. Respect. I gotta love it. Looking good out there on track, leading the field, and up 16 spots at this moment. But for how long is kind of the question that I have in the back of my mind at this point, as, again, drivers making their way down through pit road, everyone getting on those fresh set of tires, and along with Caitlin Height, we have Nicholas Corcel, the number 7 machine, who has yet to come down through pit road, the 7 KFC machine. Both of these two drivers, right as I say that, Caitlin Height going to make her way down through pit road here, but now Nicholas Corcel going to be the only driver. Nope, as I say that, he comes down through pit road here as well. So everyone having successfully made their way down through pit road, but look at this. This is the driver up here at the front of the field, and it's Ashley Lyle. Folks, I mean, Gareth, I couldn't... Both of these drivers, both Caitlin and Ashley, man, they're both just phenomenal.
Yeah, they're great drivers. Nothing against them at all, but I will say that Ashley did come in at around, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was around lap 13 or so. So I'm not quite sure, because she was the first one that came down pit road, so right I'm not quite sure.
Oh no!
And she's gonna have a spin. Keeps it off the wall, so great stuff from her there. And nice save for sure.
That was
to
close.
Keep that 51 pointed the right direction. But as we'll cycle back out, Howie Briss is going to take over the lead with a full tank of fuel. This has certainly been an interesting race so far. I'm very surprised to see Tony Hilbrands has actually made his way up. So pitting very early, maybe not as out there a move as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, now it's just kind of a matter of, can Tony and friends here, as Jaden Hopp and Nicholas Lovell both stacked up behind him, tracking down the leader, Howie Briss, are they all going to be able to track down the leader here and reel in that 3-second gap time that they currently have between Howie Briss? And Howie is just soaking up all of that clean air around him at this point in time, having no other drivers really to worry about here, as Hilbrands gets a little bit of challenges from Jaden Hopp and Nicholas Lovell. They make their way out ahead of the 92 driver up into second and third place respectively. So, you know, we've got two extremely fast drivers, well, 3 extremely fast drivers, all trying to track down Howie Briss. And right now, Tony Hilbrands trying to get himself a podium at this point in time. I mean, we've also got Nicholas Lovell trying to fight for his second place spot in the championship. We've got Jaden Hopp up here, who he's also fighting for a second place spot in the championship as well. I mean, both
Well, so is Hilbrand's.
So is Hilbrand's. I mean,
all three of them.
It's incredible what these drivers are doing here tonight, and the action that these guys are putting on here as Hilbrand's starts to see a little bit of a fall off here at this moment between the battle between Lovell and Hop, but hopefully he'll be able to close that back up here as we go through the run here. But for Howie Briss, I mean, Gareth, he's pretty much checked out from this race. He's pretty much said, I'm just here for the next 100 laps until the checkered flag flies.
Oh, Mason, that's a very early call. I'm not sure about that one, but yeah, no, we still got quite a while in this race to go. So anything can happen. Pit strategy can play a role. Caution can come out. You never know, but definitely Howie Briss showing us why he is the championship leader. I was talking earlier about attrition, and sometimes that he doesn't perform as well as he wants to, but he's able to consistently get into those top 10, top 5 spots. But definitely got something figured out here at Auto Club, because, well, as you can see, he's just able to stay out in front and lead by quite a lot at the moment.
And taking a look here at Charles Jurick in the number 76 machine with an updated paint scheme on that 76 car. It's back to Fallout, but I'm just trying to get a better look of it.
You're very much a fan of the Fallout scheme. I know you are.
I love it. I love it. But from what I understand, it has gotten better. But you know what? I'm just, man, it just leaves a bittersweet taste at the end of the day. But anyhow, the action that we're seeing here definitely doesn't leave that kind of taste here, as we are seeing some great racing here at Auto Club. And for the folks at home, I hope you guys are all enjoying the racing here, as I mean, right now we're seeing drivers fairly well spread out, and that's just going to be because of the fact that we've seen 52 laps under green flag, and drivers at this point in time are going to be relatively spaced out. And you can get a good idea of what I mean by that. The bottom right hand side of our screen, you can see where drivers are currently on the track. And keep in mind, folks, this is a 2-mile track, so while this may look like fairly close on the bottom right, it's actually a little further than you might think. Objects may appear closer than they actually appear.
Yeah, this is the closest battle on track at the moment. Nicholas Corsell and Scott Shire, I believe, is yeah. So 13th and 14th positions right here. And I'm seeing Corsell. I hate to do this to you, Mason, but at the same time I have to. Have you had a Sour Patch Kid yet?
Oh no. Oh no. No, I have not. No, I have not.
Oh,
I have been.
Mason, what are you doing?
And frankly, I'm not too big of a sweets person. I'll have them every once in a while, and Sour Patch Kids is just one of those things where it's just like, man, that looks really good. Those are tasty. I do enjoy me some Sour Patch Kids, but frankly, when if I'm ever at the gas station or at the store, I'm not someone that would just pick up a bag of candy just because. I don't know.
As I said, last week we were talking during the Nashville race that Corsell was now running the KFC paint scheme, and I got myself KFC this last week, so I just felt like bringing that one up. but we're gonna look at the battle here for 5th. Logan Jones and Tony Hilbrand's a little bit further up. Sorry,
we can take a look at them. There they are.
Yeah. They've just changed positions, so Logan Jones has just made up that spot for. That's actually the battle for 4th. I said that wrong as well. So getting a little bit mixed up here in the booth, but we're gonna power through it. And Tony Hilbrand's just falling off a little bit, and I think that's due to that early pit stop. Ooh. And that just got a little bit of the wall there. And I think that's I don't think that wall tag is gonna hurt. Well, it's certainly not gonna help him. But I don't think it's going to hurt him a whole lot. It was quite a light sort of scrape on the wall there, down the back straight. But I believe that Tony Hilbrands is really going to be struggling a little bit with that car, as he did come in quite a bit earlier than some of the other drivers that he's racing around, and that's probably why we're seeing a little bit more of a fall off than we were hoping for out of that number 92 machine.
And frankly, for a lot of drivers here as well, I think the fall off that they might be seeing here at this point in the race is, I mean, maybe a little more than what they might have expected going into tonight's race. And I think a lot of drivers were pretty well aware that tonight was going to be a race of not necessarily being side by side the whole time, but being able to get out in front air. You want to be front air, be out
clean air
in the clean air. Yes, that's what I. Gareth,
nice.
You're making me struggle on my words now. It's not okay.
I've passed it from one broadcaster to the next.
It's transitioned like thousands of miles away. I don't know how that's possible. Anyhow.
Shipping is fast these days, man.
Free overnight shipping in under 20 minutes. It's fantastic. It's great.
Oh, can you imagine the world we'd be living in if that were the case? That'd be awesome.
Oh man, imagine the racing then.
What, racing overseas? Like driving over the water? That was a terrible joke.
Cool.
I'm gonna just. Okay, well, there we go. I'll just accept that would be cool. I was expecting to just flop and have silence, but
racing across the water overseas from country to country. Now that would be cool. Probably extremely dangerous, but still cool. Anyway, we've got action here with Caitlin Height and Logan Jones. Lap 59 of 125. Just about to the halfway mark into tonight's race, and while we've hit that mark, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this moment, we're going to step away from the booth, take a little short commercial break here, folks. Don't go anywhere, because it'll be just a short minute, literally a short minute, so you don't want to go anywhere, you don't want to miss anything. We'll be back in just a short few seconds here for more of the Hollywood 250 and more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad. And welcome back, race fans, as we have a caution out on the field as I was going to replenish my drink, and I hear a Gareth frantically trying to grab my attention. Let's take a look and see what happened here under the yellow flag, or, well, the reason for the yellow flag here. Taking a look, it looks to be Tony Hilbrands having a little bit of a moment here off track. Let's go ahead and back things up here. Hit the old rewind button on the tape recorder here and see exactly what unfolded. It looks to be Sean Williams and Hilbrands both getting a little loose here.
I think Williams expected Hilbrands to go a bit higher than Hilbrands did on corner exit. Hilbrands was a bit too low. For my taste as well, but you know, it's just one of those things. This track does have that happen, and yeah, Williams obviously expected. Hilbrands actually looked like he turned in a little bit too hard, so might have got a bit loose there.
I think so.
Because the rear end looked like it stepped out a little bit, so certainly an interesting one, as every single driver pretty much comes into pit road. So I think fuel strategy is almost thrown out the window at this point, but it may be back in a return. But
Yeah, that rear end definitely getting loose on the 92 machine, coming down into the lane of the 89 driver of Sean Williams, and that's going to send Tony Hilbrand's almost center
thankfully
into
misses
the
the
wall.
wall. Yeah,
Whew.
thankfully misses it. Sorry, Mason, didn't want to take your thunder there, but
It's okay. It's okay. That was a close call. I have definitely seen a few drivers in the past absolutely nail that pit wall head on, and it's brutal. You know, it's definitely brutal. I'm glad that I haven't had the misfortune of seeing that happen in real life, because I'm sure the aftermath of that would just be something else. Something else.
yeah, well, you know, well, I don't mean to like, I, I was, yeah, we're just we're gonna stack the field back up. That's what we're gonna do. And it looks like Britain might have got his lap back through all of that as well. So, or maybe it's just because no,
I think he's gonna be back on the lead lap.
he's gonna either get the wave around or
Yeah.
pit. I think. No, there's the wave around. There he goes.
And the lights go
So-
off on the pace car as well.
Yeah, so that'll definitely be going back to green as we get ready for it again. We got Howie Briss and Nicholas Lovell on the inside, Howie Briss on the outside, Caitlin Height just behind them with Jaden Hop on her inside, and Logan Jones with Connor Gibson on the inside. Those are your top three rows as we get ready to bring this one back to green. Yeah, it's interesting. I thought we were going to be caution free for this for almost this entire race. Just an unfortunate series of circumstance, and you know that kind of stuff does happen at Auto Club. And you know Hilbrands was on quite old tires, having pit very early on, and in the last fuel run. So just unfortunate to lose the rear end of the car there, and Williams nowhere to go.
Yeah, as we come through turns 3 and 4, we will see the green flag raised by the marshal, and we'll get ready to go back to green flag racing here at Auto Club Speedway for the Hollywood 250 for the 2022 VRL Cup Series. As the pace car makes its way down into pit road, Howie Briss, Nicholas Lovell getting ready to fire it off here once again as we go through the Geico restart zone here at Auto Club. The green flag drops, and Howie Briss, foot down to the metal here once again, and trying to build up a good gap here like he has before. But let's see what Nicholas Lovell and Jaden Hop and Caitlin Height here, a newcomer up here in the top 3. A little bit of contact between those two, it looks like, as we are seeing drivers mad dashing their way down the back straightaway into turn 3. 3 wide between Jaden Hop, Nicholas Lovell, and Caitlin Height through turn 3. Coming out of turn 4, fighting for second place here. Howie Briss, meanwhile, just driving it away for the lead.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm genuinely surprised actually that Lovell was able to make that stick on the middle of that as we go another 3 wide battle, or almost looking 3 wide, sorting itself out fairly evenly. Corsell goes for a little bit of a spin, keeps it underneath him. We saw Colby do that on the restart on the very first drop to green, so definitely not as strange as that inside line, not quite the way everyone wants it to be handling at the moment. I believe there's a few extra bumps on that inside line as opposed to the outside, so the car getting a bit looser than you would like to see, as 2 wide, 3 rows deep here towards the mid-pack of the field.
This is some intense racing, and frankly, it's as a driver, it's got to be chaotic behind the wheel. And just to kind of get an idea of that, let's actually ride on board here with Scott Shire from the helmet camera of the number 4 machine and just kind of get an idea of what it's like from behind the wheel and racing on a track like Auto Club, where you just have all sorts of lanes of traffic being used and drivers just all over the place buzzing around like bees. And Shire here, ooh, a little bit of trouble up ahead, but keeping it together, keeping things green. And folks, bear in mind, we're moving at 200 miles an hour on the straightaways. I mean, this is just incredible speed that these cars are moving at. And, you know, the fine little movements that drivers make, it's incredible how quickly things happen on the racetrack. So these guys make it look easy, and frankly, they've made it look easy all season long. And I've definitely seen some races where I'm just gonna leave it at that. I won't even go any further. I've seen some bad races before. I'll just put it like that.
Well said.
Well said. Thanks, Gareth.
That's the best input you've ever heard.
Just absolutely A1. Incredible performance. Best broadcast you've ever listened to.
The blush. No. Ooh, that was getting close there between Daniel Mostella and Connor Gibson, I believe that was. That was a little bit close for comfort just there, as these 5 cars really, well, I say 5, there's going to be 3 wide behind them as well. It's going to be Corsell, Williams, and Shire. They're going 3 wide, and they're going to continue to stay 3 wide. Corsell with that little spin earlier. Shire been falling back down the pack. Obviously have a short run car. And Ashley Lyle out of nowhere trying to make it 4 wide. Here we go. Coming into turn 3.
That's
able to
spicy.
sort it out. Yeah, it's just Williams getting the short end of that stick, but then able to diamond it back, go 4 wide again. What is happening, Mason? What is happening?
Well, I can tell you right now that the Fox is currently trying to chase down the chicken bucket of the 7 of KFC. I'm sorry, I had to get that joke out. But it's actually changed spots now. Scott Shire trying to work his way up the field, and Ashley Lyle, like you just said, I mean, she's doing a phenomenal job trying to keep the momentum up in that 51 machine, trying to move herself up the grid here into the top 10. Meanwhile, I mean, we've got battles happening all over the field, as now that we've gone past the halfway mark in tonight's race, the Jets are set to 100% here tonight. Everyone is all scrapping for 4 spots here, and just look at this racetrack right now, Gareth. It's like a bunch of ants out there right now.
It's absolutely crazy. It's not many words can be used to describe what I'm seeing unfold in front of my eyes, but yeah, Connor Gibson really getting stuck on the middle line there, not quite able to make anything work, so falls back a little bit just behind Patrick Colby as he was trying to pass. Looks like Charles Jurick is going to be stuck a little bit on the inside line as well, as Corsell looks to the high side. And you know, Mason, I almost wonder if you were waiting to make that joke for about a race, like a whole race. You were just waiting for that.
Well, actually, it just came to me just a few turns ago, a few laps ago, when I saw the Fox and then the KFC in front of it. I'm like, wow, Fox chasing a chicken. That's kind of funny. So I had to go with it. But it wasn't executed the way that I wanted it to be, but hey, it worked out.
Yeah. It's I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. It was my kind of joke, I must admit. I love that kind of humor. As ridiculous as a lot of people think it is. So that was, I mean, I certainly thought it was a pretty good joke, to be honest. So there you go. I'll give you that one.
All right, I'll take it. That's all I need.
Yeah. My approval. There you go.
If I got Garrett's approval, that's all we need.
Absolutely, absolutely, ever. I put my stamp on it. So this track, we haven't talked about it yet, but this track only has 14 degrees of banking. Now, as you said earlier, you know, they have to lift off considerable amount to make these corners, but with such a wide track, with such a low degree of banking, you can't stay on the full throttle unless you want a one-way ticket to go for a dance with the wall. But yeah, so you know, they're going to be 2-3 wide all over this track, though. It's producing some excellent racing, and I think that's why NASCAR opened it up. NASCAR actually opened this track themselves in 1997, 25 years ago, to create some great racing on a big 2-mile track, and I think what we're seeing now is an example of just what they were wanting to see.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible example of some of the racing that oval track series can really see. You know, particularly here in the States where oval racing is, well, dominant. You know, it's not always what you want to see as a spectator, and frankly, sometimes even as a commentator. You know, to see the single file racing that we sometimes can see in a lot of oval courses as we're going 3 wide down the back straightaway. Not close contact, but close action here between Connor Gibson and Charles Jurick as they work their way through 3 and 4 now. Getting a little bit spread out between one another, trying to give each other some distance to work with. Man, this is some spicy action to be in. I wouldn't want to be in the middle of this sandwich here. Patrick Colby going all the way to the bottom of the track. He's saying, nope, I want out of this. This seems like a dangerous situation to be in. Nicholas Coruscant brings it all the way up to the side of the 31 of Connor Gibson. That, man, Gareth, I think this is exactly what NASCAR was hoping for when they built this track.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you see, these cars, I mean, they're under a blanket. There's no other way to describe it. They're so close together at the moment. And Colby's really been falling out, actually. I'm very surprised by that. But Colby not struggling with that car ever since he's had that spin very early on in this race. Not quite able to make it, as this big pack of cars has really caught up to him and really taken him to school. I don't know where I was going with that one, but we'll just continue it. Ashley Lyle has been making her way through now. I've been very impressed by her. She's been able to stick her car just basically wherever she wants to, and it's been dicey at times, but able to stay out of a lot of accidents. So that's definitely a mark of approval for her driving at the moment. Of course, Sel's been stuck on that low line for a very long time. Not sure if that's going to have anything to do with, well, it's going to hurt his exit speed, that's for sure. And Ashley Lyle trying to get the draft from that, as you've still got just, I don't know. It's just racing. This is what you want to see from a race.
100%. 100%. I mean, you know, and like, again, as a spectator, as a commentator, this is the kind of action that you hope for as both of those categories. You want to see this side-by-side racing, all these drivers all having an opportunity. Not just every driver, well, yes, every driver having an equal opportunity at a shot for the lead, for a position, for a fight. You know, we're often used to seeing racing today in the real world where everything can pretty much be determined before the race even begins. You can figure out who's going to win just by looking at what track they're racing at and who's been performing the best, you know, in the past few races. Formula One. Anyway, point being, not to point any fingers here, but you know, as much as I love Formula One, I will admit that it can be a little too predictable sometimes, and that's okay sometimes. Some races can be a little predictable here and there, but man, as a motorsports fan, you want to see that kind of that unpredictability that you get from racing. it's like playing poker, but with, you know, race cars. It's fun. It's great. I love it.
You know, Mason, while you've been talking and while we've been looking at this battle, I just saw as you had the camera panned back to the front there, Caitlin Height and Nicholas Lovell, as well as Jaden Hopp, are all pressuring Howie Briss for the lead at the moment. So this is not what I expected to see. You know, we were talking earlier about how Howie Briss was probably just going to run away with it. Well, Caitlin is saying, "Oi, get back here." So yeah, this is very surprising. And as she goes for a move down into 3, Howie Briss is going to have to stay high. See how high. Caitlin's not going to run him too close to the wall, so that's going to allow him to have still a lot of room to breathe up high, and that is going to allow a lot of runoff speed as Caitlin falls in back behind. Jaden Hopp has passed Nicholas Lovell. So this is starting to get pretty spicy up front, as well as the continuing massive battle in the back.
Yeah, and I mean, what's really surprising here, Gareth, it's just the pure fact that Howie Briss he's been able to retain this lead for so long throughout this race. He has not dropped down from this lead, I don't think, at all. I think there's only been, that situation, through going through pit road, the pit cycles, that's pretty much the only time where we've seen other drivers up at the front of the field. It's pretty much been the 97's race here. And what's more surprising to me is the fact that drivers like Caitlin Height and even Nicholas Lovell, who is just a little bit further back behind these drivers here at this moment, have not really been able to get past Howie Briss in a fight straight up. As we're coming out of turn 2 down the back straightaway, we're seeing Caitlin Height here down on the inside trying to get a good run here going into turn 3, and we may potentially see that number 18 machine get out ahead of Howie Briss here as we get closer to our next and potentially final pit run of the night here. I don't know, it's just Howie Briss has been able to stay up top and stay consistent here all race long and really show his long run dominance in tonight's race. It's been almost unmatchable, to say the least. We're seeing, again, drivers like Caitlin Height and now Jaden Hopp trying to do whatever it is that they can to make a pass around Howie, but he's just got this thing on lockdown at this point.
Yeah, Hop had a huge run coming into the back stretch there, staying all the way up high, but because Caitlin was on the inside, he could not duck down to make the move on Howie Briss, and it looks like that may have hurt him there. But they're going to continue. As much as I enjoy this battle, Mason, I almost want to go back to the big one.
Let's take a look at it.
It's filed out a little bit now, but on the timing sheet, it's just showing how close they all are still. I mean, it's insane. All the way from 9th to 16th. I mean, they're separated, each of them by less than half a second to one another. So it's crazy how close these drivers all are together.
As Dawn Hillbrands put it, she said, gotta say, think it's one of the best races so far for close action, and I think she's right, hitting the nail right on the head here. Some of the best racing that we've seen for side-by-side action almost all season long. We've seen a lot of good racing throughout the season, but we haven't seen racing quite like this that we've seen here tonight at Auto Club. And as I'm saying that, we've got Patrick Colby making his way down through the pits here for his 3rd time here tonight. Actually, I might have miscounted that. I believe, nope, it is his 3rd time here tonight. So I'm not sure if that's just an early pit stop here for the number 9 machine, just gonna try and get out on the freshest set of tires as possible and maybe be able to gain a few positions through this kind of early pit run, but that may not work out the way that he wants it to, because Gareth, I would imagine that as we get closer to what is now going to be 30, once we get to lap 90, it'll be 35 laps left to go, And I got to imagine once you come through pit road, that's going to be it for your tires. So I mean, maybe not. Maybe Patrick might not be in as bad of a situation as I'm thinking here, but I don't know. I think it's definitely a roll of the dice here at this situation at this point, as we see Caitlin Height making a move here for the lead with Howie Briss on the outside still. It is a drag race out of turn 4, trying to see who is going to come out on top here, as again we're going to see pit stops here for these drivers in just a few laps. So at this point, this is a heated battle between Caitlin Height, Howie Briss, and even Jaden Hopp trying to get up in the mix here as well.
Yeah, I've really liked seeing Jaden Hopp all the way on that high side. It hasn't been working for him as well as I'm sure he wants it to, especially on exit. I thought that he would have a little bit more speed than he is doing at the moment. But I think he's saving his tires a little bit more doing that, because he doesn't have to turn the wheel as much. As we go 3 wide a little bit further back, that's gonna be Scott Shire, Tony Hilbrands, Sean Williams. 4 wide, Colby's gonna make it. Almost hinting at 5 wides there with Logan Jones. Not quite going to do it. Probably the smarter of the 2 options of do it or don't. And it's going to sort itself out, not as quickly as I expected, as maybe another 3 wide hinted at by Williams. But going to have to tuck in behind Hilbrands, it looks like, with the exit speed not being quite what he was hoping for. But yeah, it's definitely a great race to see. And, you know, we were talking about how Colby came down to pit road. Now, as far as fuel window is concerned, he can make it to the end. The drivers can all make it to the end from one stop from now. It just really depends on when they want to come in, how long they want their tires to be out there for. You know, the more heat, the longer the tires stay under your car, the slower you end up going over the course of a run. So this is definitely a strategy race, as we expected at the top of the show.
Yeah, and I think the strategy for a lot of drivers here tonight is definitely being put to the test, as the 51 machine, Ashley Lyle, she's going to make her way down through pit road here for the final time tonight. And again, just seeing that slow trickle of drivers make their way down through pit road, making that decision to grab that final set of tires as well as final tank of fuel to finish off the final 35 laps of the race here tonight, as Howie Briss just continues on with his strong lead of tonight's race, but still seeing some stiff competition from Caitlin Height and Jaden Hopp, who are just lingering in the mirrors of the 97 machine here at this point. As we come out of turn 4 and back across the checkered line, we bring us lap 92 of 125. Just waiting at this point to see when these drivers in the lead are going to make that decision to come down into the pits and grab that next set of tires, because this is where things are going to get really interesting really fast. And speaking of interesting and fast, we've got some real chaotic action happening on the back straightaway with drivers coming out of pit road. That's the number 9 of Patrick Colby, as well as Nicholas Corcel, both coming out of pit road on a fresh set of tires, and really kind of showing us up here in the booth as well what kind of pace difference you can expect on a fresh set here on lap 93.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're Briss, Height, or Hop, you're looking at these lap cars go by and you're thinking it's just playing in your mind even more about just when should I pit. I believe if you're Jaden Hopp, he's probably in the perfect position. I think Caitlin's a little bit too close to Briss at the moment to really have a look at what the guy in front of you is going to do and decide to do whether the same if you think you've got the pace, or do the opposite to try and do something different to really make that a huge difference here. And it could really make the difference between winning the race or losing it. But, you know, another driver I'd also like to point out, I mean, you know, this battle is continuing, but just behind them, Daniel Mostella, he's made his way up into 4th. Now, I'm incredibly surprised by that, and up 11 spots. Caitlin, of course, is up 15, can't deny that one. 16 now, she's just taken over the lead from Howie and continues that battle. But Mostella showing a lot more pace than I was expecting out of him coming into this race. So definitely proven me wrong, and keep going. Good stuff. I like to see it, and may have been saving his tires this whole time because it looks like he's got a little bit more pace than Jaden Hopp just in front.
Very well could be more on the conservative side of those tires and trying to be a little bit softer on those entries, not trying to be as aggressive, trying to not scrub those tires off nearly as quickly. It'll definitely help you in your long run speed, being able to really kind of have a little bit more, a little bit more speed on the straightaways, not necessarily the turns themselves, but more drivers making their way down through the pits. Jaden Hopp, a little bit of a wobble as he comes across the commitment line.
As I hope he didn't get a flag there for speeding on pit entry, as it almost looked like Gibson.
Yeah. Wow. So we're definitely seeing some racing happening even on pit road here as well. Drivers trying to get in as quickly as possible, as well as out as quickly as possible. I mean, it's definitely a heated final 30 laps that we're going to see here in tonight's race. And for the drivers that are on the lead laps, Howie Briss, he's actually going to make his decision to come down into pits right now, as well as Daniel Mosteller, the 87 machine right on the tail of the 97 of Howie Briss. They're both going to come down at the same time, leaving Caitlin Height, the Red Bull 18 machine, out in front and with no one else around her to make that challenge happen. So she's going to be free to come down anytime she wants.
Yeah, but if really, Caitlin wants to stay in the mix, I think she's going to have to. Sorry, Mason. I think she's going to have to come down this time or next time by, because with the others that were around her, Howie Briss, pitting in that early, I believe that she's going to come down now. So because otherwise she would be out for too long on old tires, and it would be too much of a difference to gain.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there, Gareth. And that's kind of the thing that you got to be aware of as a driver. You don't want to stay out too long. As good of an idea as it might sound, it'll hurt you in the long run. You will end up further down the field than you would preferably like to be, if that's the case. But sometimes that's how it works out. Sometimes you're just in the midst of things, and you're not necessarily listening to your crew chief yelling at you saying, hey, you need to come down into the pits because your tires are basically nothing. It happens. It happens to the best of us. But anyway, anyhow.
I feel like that's spoken from experience.
Know it all too well. But Sean Williams, he's going to have an opportunity to lead some laps here. Lap 99 of 125 here at Auto Club Speedway for the Hollywood 250. And for Sean Williams, I mean, having all this clean air around him, it's pretty much just going to be some relatively smooth lapping here before he makes his way down into the pits, along with Scott Shire and James Koulibaly, who have, as well as James Miller and Scott Shire, who also have to come down into the pits. So still a handful of drivers left before we see a complete pit cycle here, but so far, most drivers have made their way through, and the next driver that I'm looking at to take the lead here is that of the number 7 of Nicholas Corso.
Yeah, now he's in a very interesting position because he came in at lap 87. Now, from our basically calculations of what the fuel window is, he's one of those drivers that likes to try something different every so often, and well, this is definitely something different because I'm not sure that Corcel is going to be able to stay out for the entirety of this green flag run. but I have been proven wrong before, so it could be touch and go with Nicholas Corcel here.
Yeah, I'm not sure because he's definitely going to be on the one of the oldest set of tires here in this final stint here as Miller gets a little bit into the wall coming out of turn 4, quickly getting himself back together in that Tim Hortons 09 machine. That was a close call there for James Miller, but quickly getting things back in order here. But yeah, for Nicholas Corcel, it's definitely going to be on the teetering edge of being good enough for his tire wear to be able to make it across that line in that lead spot once he does eventually take it here. And right now, he doesn't have that much of a gap between himself and Patrick Colby in the number 9 machine, who at this moment has Howie Briss right on his tail, and they're both slowly but surely starting to track down the 7 of Nicholas Corcel. But man, it's not going to be very long here before Corcel sees stiff competition from that of Howie Briss and maybe even Patrick Colby and Jaden Hopp here, depending on how quickly they make their way up to him.
Yeah, I have some... I'm not sure what happened. I was going to say I have some news. I'm not sure what happened to Caitlin Height, but that pit stop didn't seem to go as planned, as you currently have Howie Briss and Daniel Mosteller, and Caitlin Height was right there with them, but did come down one lap later. And if that's all it took to make the gap of, rather than being in the 4th, 5th position, down into 9th just now after just passing James Miller there on the high side, you can see. So yeah, that one lap difference is really hurt her quite a bit. But you know, we saw Caitlin do this earlier. She was able to make her way through the field, so I wouldn't count her out just yet, as we've still got just over 20 laps to go left in this race so far. Corcel and Colby both on that sort of fuel strategy of maybe not, can they make it? Actually, Lyle a little bit as well. So certainly some of the drivers that we're seeing, you know, in the top 10 spots, there's some interesting little stories going on starting to unfold here.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a night to remember for drivers for the season, at least, being a very good race in general for all of these drivers involved here tonight, and particularly for Howie Briss and Nicholas Lovell, Ashley Lyle here as well, just to name a few drivers. They've all had a really decent night here and have seen a lot of exchanges in position, a lot of good fights throughout tonight's race. And with 21 laps left to go, the racing still isn't over yet, but with all of these drivers now being spread out the way that they are, it's going to be really interesting to see if we're going to see these drivers start to track down any of these drivers that are a little bit further ahead of them. For example, Nicholas Corcel in the number 7 machine in 4th place, just ahead of Ashley Lyle and Nicholas Lovell here, currently duking it out for that 5th place spot. Nicholas Corcel is just about a second and a half ahead of these drivers, as we're 3 wide with a little bit of lap traffic there. That is William Britton in the 64 Budweiser machine. So yeah, I'm curious to see how quickly some of these drivers are going to be able to close the gap on some of this field, but with 20 laps left to go, I kind of find it hard to imagine that it's going to be, well, easy to say the least for anyone here tonight.
Yeah, it's been a great night though. We can't say anything more about that. I mean, it's been incredible action to watch all over the place. But yeah, we have seen, you know, the way these pit stops have played out. I'm very surprised with. I've just got to say it once again. Like Caitlin Height, she only came down one lap after Daniel Mostella and Howie Briss, and she's found herself stuck a little bit in traffic and about 2 seconds behind, or so. So it's just, it's been. I'm just very surprised at how that sort of ended up unfolding, really, when it was only one lap of difference. But that can sometimes be the real kicker.
Well, and I think, Gareth, that's really the unique thing. Well, maybe not even necessarily unique, but just it's kind of the interesting thing about oval racing is you don't necessarily have that time advantage down in the pits that you normally would on a road course, for example. Not to say that time isn't important on road course racing, because it 100% is, but on ovals it can be amplified even further because of the fact that you can get lapped, and you can get lapped quickly. Take a track like, take a track like Nashville, for example, Nashville Fairgrounds, where you have a much smaller track, and if you are only 15 seconds sounds like that would be a heck of a gap to have at Nashville, but let's just say, for example, you are 15 seconds ahead. It's not going to take the field that long. It'll take the field maybe double that to make their way a whole lap around the track. So you could find yourself a lap down in the time that it takes you to go in and out of pit road. It's just, I don't know, Gareth. I think sometimes the strategy that has to be kind of played in the pits for these oval course races can be very tricky sometimes. And again, not to say that the road course race pit strategies aren't tricky, because they are in their own right. But here for the ovals, it is
caution
amplified, as we've got a caution out on field, and I don't know what for. I don't see. Looks to be possibly Connor Gibson, the 31 machine, having a little bit of a moment here. Let's see exactly what unfolded here. Okay.
Ooh.
Well, that's a great spot to start off in. So let's take a look here. It looks to be just a lone car incident here with the 31 of Connor Gibson. So here he goes out of 4 into the wall, tries to correct it. The car snaps around and spinning around and stopping just at the bottom of the track here. And right there, that's the reason for the caution. A very slow car on the track, and almost stopped on the track there as well. Not a situation that you want to have on a live racetrack, whether it's virtual or real life. Definitely don't want to see a car just stopped in the middle of the racetrack when you are trying to go 200 miles an hour. Not ideal. Thus the reason for the caution, allowing for Connor Gibson to get himself back out onto the racetrack and get things sorted back out in that 31 Pepsi machine. But Gareth, this is going to be a spicy restart here with only 15 laps left to go, and a whole field of drivers going to make their way down through pit road.
Yeah, this really throws an interesting strategy into things, as Scott Shire is now going to take over the first position, as he did run his fuel pretty much to the red zone, so he will take over the lead in this race. It'll be interesting to see how the pit stops go. Hopefully no one gets held up too much. Howie Briss really got struck by that one. He and Mostella were in for a good showing, but unfortunately, and it looks, oh geez, that was a close race off pit road.
Very close indeed.
I think Briss just got it. Mostella and Height coming out just behind him. That was a 3-wide pit exit. That's what that was. That oh boy, this is it's heating up. It's heating up very quickly.
Everyone wants to be up at the front right now. Everyone trying to gain as many spots as they possibly can here, going into this theoretically final stop of the restart of the race here. Um, definitely has been a long green flag run for these drivers, and for tonight's race, I think for some drivers, this might be what they've been waiting for. Kind of a little bit of a break in the storm, if you will. A little bit of a moment to breathe and to kind of resettle themselves and kind of figure out what they need to do in this final restart, these final, what will be 12 laps left to go here for the Hollywood 250. As Gareth, we're seeing Scott Shire, Howie Briss line up on the front row, and Caitlin Height, Daniel Mosteller in that second row. And the 87 DMOS machine back up here after winning last week's race at Nashville. Coming back up here, he's up here in the front once again. He said last week he wasn't too sure how he was going to finish here tonight, but here he is back up here in the top four, battling alongside with the current leader, Howie Briss, and Caitlin Height, who's come up here out of nowhere and been fighting with the leader, trying to take that lead spot. And Scott Shire, who's kind of been lingering up in the front, just keeping himself up and trying to get as good of a finish as he possibly can here.
Yeah, it should turn out to be a very interesting restart as well, because Howie Briss has been on the high side every single restart so far. So it should be interesting, as he's going to struggle with that inside line. The outside seems to have a bit of a better start. However, Caitlin Height, who's really been challenging him, is stuck behind Scott Shire, who didn't come down pit road. So he'll be on old tires and slow her down. So, I'm not quite sure how this one's going to play out, but I guess we'll find out very shortly.
Very shortly indeed, as the pace car makes its way down into pit road. The green flag is up and down it goes as we go through the Geico restart zone, and Howie Briss alongside Scott Shire. This isn't the restart that Howie Briss was hoping to see. That outside lane definitely playing favorites here, being the faster lane of choice here. Shire gonna have the advantage at first, but Briss giving a little bit of momentum out of two onto the back straightaway, side by side racing, too wide. And I don't even know how far deep at this point, as we are just racing our way through 3 and 4. Drivers scrapping for position. Scott Shire trying to hold on to his lead here, and other drivers meanwhile trying to get up into the front of the field. Both of the ladies of the series, Caitlin Height, Ashley Lyle, now up into the top 4, trying to scrap for positions here as well. Shire, Briss continue their action side by side with a battle for the lead.
Yeah, we've had a lot of difficulty. We've seen passing on that inside line. Scott Shire really with the height, and there's going to go 3 wide for the lead. Caitlin Height not playing any games, wanting to take it 3 wide. This is going to end pretty interestingly, as Howie Briss gets a little bit loose. They get really close together. Scott Shire not allowing any room on the high side and able to keep it underneath him. As I say that, they get together, and there's a big wreck. Definitely a caution coming out. Oh, I changed octaves with my voice there because of excitement.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sure Scott Shire was puckered so hard right there coming down the track. Oh, that was so close. And look at Caitlin Height. She is looking worse for wear here, facing the wrong direction on the racetrack and probably having a little bit of a beat-up race car here as well. That's going to bring out the third caution of the race here with 10 laps left to go, and shaking things up at the front of the field even further here tonight, Gareth.
Yeah, Lovell, Mostella, Ashley Lyle, and Patrick Colby. But every single one of these cars that we're seeing at the front still have been close to, if not leading this race. In the race before this caution, so they all know what it's like to be up front. But yeah, just going back to the accident, that was really, really good of everyone to really avoid that. And Scott Shire, especially with him coming down across the across all the traffic, and yeah, just see how he was ready for Scott to continue the pace. Scott got into the wall, slowed him down a bit. I think Howie was just tried to make a move, but the move wasn't there because Caitlin was on the inside and just bang, yeah. That's
Unfortunate.
really close, actually, Lyle not to get into Scott Shire as he was spinning out there, but great job from everyone else to avoid making that any bigger than it was. And yeah, not much else to say about that one. That's hard racing, and unfortunately the wall was involved, and the wall is an ever-present thing in NASCAR, and it gets involved more than it should.
Well, as Don Hilbrands put it, and I will say in the more the iRacing broadcasting policy-friendly version of it, but holy crap. And yeah, that is a good way to put it. So this restart, we're going to see things go a little bit differently. I think potentially, Gareth, we're going to go to a single file restart, and that is going to make things even more, well, maybe more straightforward for these drivers. Everyone going to be restarting on the same line potentially. I don't know that for certain. We'll just have to wait and see here. I think that'll be determined here in this next lap as we come across the checkered line. But I know that sometimes...
No, they're not going to go. They're not going to go single file.
Yep, they're okay.
Lovell wasn't sure which side he wanted, and I think all the drivers were just waiting for him to take a choice of whether he wanted the high or low side. Probably a smart decision on his part to take the high side, as that's been the preferred lane for every restart so far. But William Britton stating that he's fully back in this. William, put your phone down and drive your car.
Phone down.
Drive your car, setting a bad example.
Gareth giving a little bit of friendly driver advice here.
Well, no. It's nice to see, due to these cautions, which we don't particularly like to see, but due to it, we've got some of the drivers who had earlier issues back on the lead lap, back up front, racing again. It's what we like to see. We like to see the competitive nature, but also the fun. And we're getting ready to go back again, Mason. It's going to be a fantastic finish.
It's going to be a spicy 7 laps left here for the Hollywood 250 as we come out of turn number 4. The pace car getting ready to make its dive back down into pit road. Nicholas Lovell, Daniel Mosteller up in the front row for this restart. Pace car is in the green flag, is up in the flag stand as we go through the Geico restart zone. It will go down, and away we go here for the final time here tonight at Auto Club Speedway for the Hollywood 250. Nicholas Lovell not taking any time here at all to get away from this field, trying to build some distance as we go through turns 1 and 2. Ashley Lyle down on the inside lane, duking it out for that second place position with Mosteller, gets successfully up ahead of the 87 McConey setup shot machine as we come down the back straightaway. Action unfolding down the back of the field as drivers all scrapping for positions as we come through turns 3 and 4. 7 laps left to go here for the Hollywood 250.
Yeah, sure, Jason. Sorry, I was going to say Jason.
Oh,
James.
no.
James Miller. There's not another one, is there? Oh, and that's Tony. Tony goes for a wild ride in the grass once again. He's grown accustomed to that lately.
Oh,
and
no.
That's going to be James Koulibaly as well. You saying, oh no, because I called out Tony for getting in the grass?
Don's going to have something to say to you about that one. Let's take a look at the instant replay here. Let's back this up here because apparently our timing and scoring software thinks that we want to start there. But let's take a look here. We'll go into slow motion here just to see exactly how this unfolds. But Hilbrand's a little bit of a slide upturn out of 4 up into the top lane, getting contact to the 09 of James Miller. But here comes the 22 machine, of James Koulibaly, the Verizon machine, up into the rear of Hilbrand's, getting him sideways, and now we have multiple drivers loose here. Coulibaly and Hilbrand's both trying to lock up those tires and bring those cars to a stop here, preventing anything else from happening there. But Gareth, what a wild way to bring out a caution here.
That was just a series of events. It really was. Like, Hilbrand's once again, he's been struggling with that car all race long. We've seen it multiple times. And yeah, just getting a little bit loose, collecting Miller able to keep it going, but causing Hilbrand's to just lose the speed that contact did. And Coulibaly was not ready for Hilbrand's to drop that speed, really. At the end of the day, that's kind of what happened. So it's just always when you have an accident, when you have a caution that comes out, it's never just, it's very rare that it's just one thing. It's usually, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And, you can never foresee how it's going to go, but definitely going to be spicing it up again. And, a key point to note, Mason, every single restart we've had, like every recent restart we've had, Ashley Lyle has made up a spot going into turn 1. Now, I think this is a huge thing because, speaking of huge, Nicholas Lovell, I was thinking was taking the inside line there, but maybe they haven't quite figured it out yet and he's still deciding. But Ashley Lyle has been really, really strong on the restarts, so this could actually play in her favor.
Yeah, and when we come back to green, it'll be 3 laps left to go here. And yeah, Gareth, I mean, Ashley has shown some really, really strong performance here on these restarts. And I think you're right. I think it might play into her favor here. And Nicholas Lovell might have some work ahead of him here in the 37 Budweiser machine, trying to keep that 51 car in his mirrors, essentially, with only 3 laps left to go. And on top of that, we also have Jaden Hopp and Daniel Mosteller, 3rd and 4th place, just behind them, who've shown really good performance here in the later half of tonight's race here as well. Jaden Hopp, he's been up here fighting for positions really kind of in the last half of the race here, and Mosteller kind of in the last like 30, 40 laps that we've seen make his way up here towards the front of the field. So seeing some different drivers have an opportunity at a podium here tonight. And I mean, after an incredible turn of events, Howie Briss, the leader of the race, has been put towards the tail end of the field. And well, actually, as I'm looking at timing and scoring, yeah, Briss is still down in pit road. Hasn't officially gotten out of the car yet, but I don't think he has any intention of getting back out on track here and finishing these last few laps. But Gareth, as we're coming out of turn 2 down the back straight, we're going to go back to green flag here in just a few short seconds. It's going to be a spicy one.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it in my mind. It's going to be crazy. We've seen Ashley make moves every single restart, and on the low side at that, and she's on the low side right now. Lovell is going to have, obviously, the start that he wants because he is the pole position driver, so he might get away a little bit. And Hopp and Mosteller have been up front all race so far. So Jones and Colby in the 3rd row just behind them as well. So yeah, it should be a very, very good restart.
As we come out of turn number 4, sorry, Gareth. Pace car.
No, you got it.
Pace car making its dive back down into pit lane through the Geico restart zone. The green flag drops here once again. Back to green flag racing here for the final time. 2 laps left to go. It's a mad dash to the finish line with Nicholas Lovell in the front row, trying to build up that momentum again, trying to get that distance between himself and the rest of the grid here as drivers make their way through turns 1 and 2 out onto the back straightaway. Multiple drivers side by side with one another as we come down the back straightaway. Lovell able to build up Just a little bit of distance between himself and Ashley Lyle here, but Lyle, the 51 driver, trying to get a little bit of push here through 3 and 4, close that distance between the 37 and potentially have a fight here for the lead as we come across the line. The white flag is out here. The last lap of the race here, the Hollywood 250. Some of the most exciting racing we've seen all season long, and for drivers here, some of the most challenging racing potentially that we've seen all season here as well, as we get ourselves down the back straightaway heading into turn number 3. It is the last chance to dance. Lovell, the 37 machine, after a long bout fighting with Howie Briss, trying to take the lead and get himself up into the front. Coming out of turn number 4, he's got nothing but clean air ahead of him. And across the checkered line, he will come home victorious here for the Hollywood 250. Ashley Lyle just behind him in second. In third place with Daniel Mosteller, and William Britton taking it across the line a little bit more in style.
He's just not happy with the wall, or he's giving the wall a high five.
He looks like he's giving that cone a little bit of a lap too here.
Oh
man, that poor cone.
Yeah. You know, we need like a cone awareness month. All the poor cones that get bullied in iRacing.
You know, it's always funny to see it too. Just in a race, or just doing random stuff or whatever, and you'll just see someone taking out a cone just because they want to. But anyway, folks, that is going to be the end of our race here, as Nicholas Lovell is going to burn it down on the checkered line. We're going to go ahead and get ourselves ready for our post-race interviews. And William Britton here saying he got turned on that final turn. Rough. William Britton just trying to have a good race, and he gets turned on the final lap. That's tough.
Look, it's racing. I mean, he can say he's got turned, but as much as I love you, William, there's that's one driver's opinion. We unfortunately did miss it in the booth. We were too focused on the action happening up front, and we didn't quite see what happened to him. So there's a potential that it was just completely accidental, and it just ended up being that way. But yeah, so drivers, they get very emotional. There's a lot of adrenaline pumping through their system at the time things happen, especially towards the end, and so that might be the cause. And are you going to replay this? No. Oh, you
no.
are.
Oh no. We're just getting ready for post race. It's all right.
Okay. I was gonna say that's probably. Alright, that's fine.
All right, folks. So as we get ourselves ready for our post race interviews, the first driver that we're gonna have up here on the podium here tonight, Daniel Mosteller, after coming home with a win last week at Nashville Fairgrounds. Daniel, you weren't too sure how you were gonna finish going into tonight's race, but you managed to come home with a podium here tonight. Back-to-back success here, back-to-back podiums for the 87 machine and the Makoni Setup Shop 87 car. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm pretty surprised with my result, but I will happily take it.
Well, it was a tough race here tonight at Auto Club, and I think not only for yourself, but for a lot of other drivers, there was a lot of uncertainty as far as where you would just end up on the field. With a multi-groove track like Auto Club, it's definitely tough to make passes straight up, because in just a few short turns you'll probably see another driver making that same attempt on you. But Daniel, I mean, coming home with a podium here tonight, going next week into Long Beach, back to some road course racing, but not only road course racing, it is street course racing at that. What's kind of your expectations there, and do you expect to put yourself in a top 10, a top 5? What are you kind of expecting there next week?
I just want to finish the race. That's all I care about. I am terrible at street courses. I'm terrible at road courses. It was a miracle I finished second at Road America earlier this season. But it'll be a fun race. Yeah, if I finish the race, I'll consider it a win.
Well, Daniel, you did a phenomenal job here tonight, and congratulations once again on coming home on the podium with that third place finish here tonight. Before we let you go and celebrate, is anyone watching the broadcast, anyone at home or in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank before you go?
Want to thank you guys for broadcasting. I can't wait to look back at all the crazy finish there. That was we had a couple short runs to the finish. I can't wait to listen back to that. You guys do an awesome job week in, week out. Congrats to Lovell on the win. Yeah, thanks for everyone for watching. It's awesome. Nice little crowd we get to race to week in, week out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us up here tonight, Daniel. Good luck to you next week at Long Beach, and hopefully get to talk to you again.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Alrighty, folks, that was Daniel Mosteller out of the booth here, coming home with third place. Up next is Ashley Lyle, the number 51 driver, coming home with second place here tonight. Ashley, while she may not be here every single race, but it seems like every race that she does show up, she's up here on the podium. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off here to Gareth. Ashley, welcome to the booth, and I'll let Gareth go ahead and continue on.
Yeah, hi Ashley. How are you? How are you feeling after that second place? You had a lot going for you when you were trying to race Lovell, but just couldn't quite clinch it. How was that last start from your perspective?
I kind of messed up a little bit. I mean, I think I had the speed to beat him because this is one of my better tracks. I just kind of got bogged down by the fact I had an internet disconnect to start the race, so I was kind of on the back pedal the entire first 60% of it. But unfortunately, I thought he was going to go a little bit later in the box than he did, so I messed up my jump there. I also screwed up my entry into turn 1 on the white flag lap, and had I gotten that correct and gotten the run, I think I could have gotten by him. But I've been racing with Nick for years as well. He's not an easy one to beat no matter what.
All right, well that's a racist comment through and through. That's nice person, nice racing. That's what that is. But yeah, so Ashley, I did actually want to talk about that final lap, because that was by far really the fastest lap of the entire race. Your final lap was the only sub 41 second lap of the entirety of the race there. Was that just being in draft, or was you were probably just giving it your all, I imagine, trying to catch up to Nick at the end there?
Yeah, I didn't even know. I wasn't paying attention to stuff like that at the very end. I was just trying as hard as I could to get by to him. Additionally, with that, part of it was definitely draft. Part of it was that was the also only time in the race I was really giving it everything and not trying to save tire. So, column A, column B.
Yeah, well, tires were a huge factor. So, just as a last question, just on that, did you find that the tires were falling off a little bit quicker than you'd like, or were they lasting a decent amount, or were they something you really had to manage?
Unfortunately, I'm the wrong person to answer that. I can't stand this tire model. I don't know what I'm doing with it. I don't know how to keep heat in it. I don't know how to keep too much heat from getting in it. I'll be running slower than people and kill off 20% more tire. So this track in particular, I've always been better with tire wear at than other tracks. I like to turn the bottom lane. If you guys didn't notice, I tend to be comfortable down there and it's a bit easier on the tire. But I can't predict the fall off with this tire model. I haven't been able to since it came out.
All right, Ashley. Well, hopefully you figure it out at some point soon. But even without it, you've been incredibly fast. And as Mason said earlier, you're pretty much always in the top few spots. So hopefully a win is not too far away. So who would you like to give a shout out to for this second place here tonight at Auto Club?
Tony for putting on the league. This is by far and best. I don't know why I phrased it like that. Sorry, I'm tired. Far and above my favorite league on iRacing. I've been in this since its first season. I was in the first race it ran. Want to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast as usual. I want to thank Demos as well for pushing me at the end, on the last restart, particularly after I threw a 3 wide on him the one before. I respect that. I'm going to pay that back forward. I also want to thank my mom. She doesn't care about racing at all, but it's still fun to thank her.
All right, well, that's great to see, and love talking to you here in the booth, and I'm sure we'll see you in short order again. So yeah, we'll see you soon, and I'm sure of that.
Yeah, hopefully the next 2 weeks. I love road courses. Long Beach and Laguna are two of my favorite tracks. So hopefully.
All right.
All right, so that was Ashley Lyle out of the booth here tonight, taking home second place. Up next and last, and certainly not going to be least here, Nicholas Lovell coming home with the win here tonight. And Nicholas, it was a tough, really race for not only yourself, but for Howie Briss, who unfortunately saw himself out of the race at the end of it, fighting with Ashley Lyle there in the end. And we've also seen, we've seen Caitlin Height even trying to get up there and fight with Howie Briss for the lead as well. I mean, this race seemed to be up and down all over the place for all the 125 laps that we've seen here. Nicholas, I mean, what was your game plan going into the night, and was it executed the way that you planned it to?
Yeah, I mean, I figured I could hang with Howie for most of the race. I had a problem burning my right rear off for a couple runs, but sometimes you have to get lucky. And I mean, Howie probably should have won it, or at least finished second, but he got taken out, and I happened to make it through it. And sometimes it's just how it works out. I hate it for him, but I'll take another win. It helps me get closer. I'm going to need a miracle in the next 3 races, or how many we got left, but you never know.
Well, speaking of miracles, Nicholas, going next week into the street course of Long Beach, and then after that we go to Laguna Seca. I know you have not shown the,
consistency.
Yes, that's... Excuse me, I was trying to get my words out there, but you in the past, you haven't shown the most likeness towards road courses, but you seem to perform well there, and going to kind of what would be some of the most difficult road courses that we can see on a schedule, and having them back to back. I mean, knowing that you have a battle for the second place spot in the championship, as well as not only for that first place spot. I mean, Howie Briss has also expressed that, he may not do as well in those particular races. So, I mean, what's your ultimate goal here in the next 2 weeks?
I mean, I'm decent at Long Beach. It's probably my favorite road course if I had to pick a favorite. If I can not, miss a corner and slam into a wall, I'll probably finish pretty decent. I got to find a way to beat him there, or he's going to have a bad race. Laguna Seca might get weird because, I don't know. You never know going to the corkscrew with these cars what kind of brakes you're going to get. So, and I think we hit Vegas at one point. I think it's Vegas. Yeah, Vegas is the finale. I don't know if there's another race in between that. But, yeah, you never know. I'm hoping I'm consistent and good at Long Beach, and we'll see what happens at Laguna Seca.
Absolutely. Well, it was a good night here for you in the 37 machine, bringing home the win, and hopefully looking forward into the next 4 races that we have. We get to see you back up here on the podium. But before we let you go and celebrate, anyone watching the broadcast, anyone at home in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank before you go?
Not that I can think of, man. Hopefully I get to talk to y'all next week.
All right. Love to hear it, Nicholas. Congratulations here once again on bringing home the win. And we look forward to seeing you next week and hopefully get to talk to you again.
Yep. See you boys later.
Absolutely. Have a good one. All righty, folks. That was Nicholas Lovell out of the booth, bringing home the win here for the Hollywood 250 for the 2022 VRL Cup Series. That is going to conclude our coverage here tonight. My name is Mason Heimbaugh. Join alongside me, Gareth McAllister with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here tonight. Folks, if you enjoyed what you saw, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Catch all the action that we have here 7 nights a week. And we will see you all same time, same place next week for, I gotta pull up the name here again, the Long Beach 200 at the Long Beach Street Circuit. Thank you all for tuning in, and for Gareth and for myself, thank you all for tuning in. And actually, Gareth, why don't you go ahead and send off our viewers?
We're just gonna call it a night. No. Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and it was probably one of the best races I've ever been been witness to. It's been great to call, and obviously it's always great to see the turnout from the fans spectating and the turnout from you, Mason, every week. I like to have a chat with you and, you know, just watch some cars go around in a circle and talk about it, and hopefully it's exciting enough. So we have a bit of fun. We be a bit serious, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Next week should be very interesting. There's no forgiveness at Long Beach. The fountain is going to play a role, I'm certain of it, and we could very well see a quote-unquote parking lot happen where the cars are Austin Powersing themselves sideways between the walls. So certainly don't miss that next week, and yeah, we'll see you there.
Alrighty, folks. Thank you all for tuning in. See you all next week.